everybody, this is Diana from So Very Crafty, and today we are here to make this fantastic little wall pocket. It just hangs on the wall and you can put anything you want in it. This particular wall pocket has some Dollar Tree silk flowers and it looks fantastic. This particular wall pocket has a little hanger on the outside so that you can hang it up on a nail or a picture hanger, hook, whatever it is you like. So it's invisible and it just hangs up on your wall. And the interesting thing about this particular project is that it has watercolor painting on it. So we're going to paint on fabric today, which we've never done on So Very Crafty. But I think it gives it a nice little pop of color to an otherwise kind of neutral background. And in this particular project, I used a linen look fabric that I actually had on hand that I got at Joann's. But you can use muslin, which is a lot less expensive for this project, and get exactly the same result. So I would recommend that you actually get the muslin just because it's less expensive for this particular project, because we are going to be using interfacing to make this project a little more sturdy than it would be than if we didn't use the interfacing. So as you can see, this is a terrific little project. Hang it up on the wall, decorate it however you like. I love these purple and pink flowers, so I use those for my wall hanging, but you can use anything for yours. I hope you like this project. Please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up for this video, and let's get started on how we do it. It's a simple process. Let's set this aside. So what we are going to need for our project is 2 pattern pieces and a template. We have a pattern piece that looks like this that we're actually going to cut on the fold. And when you open it up, it looks like this. And this is the back part of our wall pocket. We need just a rectangular piece of fabric that looks like this. That's going to be the front part of our wall pocket. And a little half circle that is the bottom part of our wall pocket. And I made these little hearts. They are going to be what we're going to paint today on So Very Crafty to embellish the front part of our wall pocket today. Now this pattern is downloadable and I'm going to put it in the description section of the video. So if you click more underneath the video, you will get all kinds of information about this video, and one of the things you're going to get is the pattern download so that you can just instantly download this pattern. It's free to download, and you can do that. So the first thing that we are going to do is cut out our pieces, and I've actually already done that. I have this neutral background fabric where I've cut out my 2 of our bottom pieces, which is the half circle. I've cut out 2 of our front pieces and 2 of our back pieces. In addition to that, I have used Pellon 808 interfacing for the back part of our project and the front part of our project. But for the bottom, our half circle, I have used what's called Pellon Peltex. And it is, as you can see, very rigid interfacing. And I did that on purpose because I didn't want this to move very much. I wanted it to be very structured on the bottom, and so I used the Pellon Peltex. And you just need a tiny bit of this to be able to accomplish that. The other thing you're going to do is cut out a rectangle that measures 3 inches long by 2 inches wide, and that's going to create our hanger for the back part of our project. So now the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to fuse our interfacings. And that is a simple process. I'm just not even going to show you how to do it because it's very simple. You can follow the manufacturer's instructions. But I'm just going to take the wrong side, although for this fabric there really is no right and wrong side. And you will notice on the interfacing itself, on the 808, there is a shiny side and a matte side. And the shiny side you're going to place face down onto the wrong side of your fabric, whatever fabric you use. And you're just going to run a hot iron on top of that, and the shiny stuff that's on the interfacing is actually glue, and what that will do is it will fuse that glue and melt it, and these two pieces will become one so you can sew them together. So I'm going to head over and I'm going to fuse the Peltex onto one of my pieces of half circles, and I'm going to fuse one of my back pieces with the Pellon 808 and one of my rectangles with the Pellon 808, and I'll be right back and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, we are back and we have fused our interfacing onto our fabric pieces, as you can see. So the next step is to paint the front part of our wall pocket. And we are going to fold this in half and just get a sense of where the center is. And I'm going to place my heart template right in the center. And I am going to use a Frixion Heat erasable pen to trace out my hearts onto my fabric. And this does not have to be exact because this is going to be a very organic process. Just make sure they're relatively even across. And you don't have to use hearts for yours. You can use any decoration that you like. I personally am not an artist, so this was a perfect little pattern for me. If you're an artist, you can go to town on this and make it really beautiful. But for me, simple is better. Now we have our hearts drawn, and I like the Frixion Heat erasable pens because they erase with an iron and it's gone. Now we are just going to take some watercolors, and you can use your kids' watercolors, any watercolors. I happen to have these watercolors that are a little sparkly, that I used on my original project, and we're just going to put some water on here. Each of these hearts. Next, we're going to choose some colors. So for the middle heart, I decided to go with some blues and purples. I thought that would be fun. You don't necessarily always have to go with pink. So we're just going to paint just inside our lines here. A little bit of purple and some blue. And I think I'm going to throw a little bit of yellow in there. Just like that. And that's really all there is to doing this. I'm going to paint up these next two hearts, and then we're going to move on to our next step. There's not three. There. There's our three hearts painted. And now we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch 3 lines of stitching around each of these hearts. And this is going to be kind of a random stitching process. We do not want this to be perfect. It's very organic looking process. So let's head over to the sewing machine and let's stitch some lines around these hearts, and I'll give you a sense of what this actually looks like. Here we are over at the sewing machine, and as you can see, we have our painted hearts, and we are going to start here at the bottom, and we are going to stitch around these hearts. There, as you can see, there's 3 lines, and they're not perfect. They're sort of an organic looking process, and it looks lovely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the rest of these hearts. I'm not going to show it on camera. There's no need to, since you've seen how the first heart goes. And then I'm going to head back over to the workstation, and we are going to go on to our next step. Okay, here we go, and our hearts are completely finished. Now we are going to attach our bottom piece so that it is right sides together with our front piece. And the way this is going to go is we're going to find the center, just like that. We know where the center is because that's the center of our heart. And we are going to pin. And you're going to need to use some pretty hardy pins for this because you're pinning through this Peltex. Oops, I don't have the center there. I thought I did. Now, as you can see, this outer piece is curving around the curved half circle. And what you're going to get is the pocket part of the wall pocket. So now what we're going to do, now that we have this pinned, is we are going to head over to the sewing machine and we are just going to stitch all the way around here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to flip this right sides out and move on to our next step. Okay, we're back at the sewing machine and we have our front piece and our bottom piece, and we are simply going to stitch these together. Make sure to take out these pins, and we're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure that these raw edges are matching, even if you have to pull them as you go along. Perfect. Okay, we have this stitched, and now we're just going to flip it under so that our hearts are on the outside and our bottom is on the inside. And as you can see, this stands up pretty much on its own because of the stiffness of the Peltex. And now what we're going to do is we are going to create an identical piece of this from the remaining outer fabric and half circle so that this acts as a lining for our pocket piece, because we don't want these raw edges showing, and we just want this to be nice and neat on the inside. So I'm going to head over to the sewing machine. I'm not going to show this on camera, and I'm just going to create an identical piece to this using these two pieces made exactly the same way as that one. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back and I've made an identical piece, and what we're going to do is we are going to place these right sides together, these two pieces. And all we're going to do is stitch along the top edge. Now, if you want, you can pin along this edge. There's no real reason to, unless you're a beginner sewist, then I would recommend that you pin or clip along this top edge. But I'm just going to run over to the sewing machine and stitch right along there and come back, and we'll go over to our next step. Okay, so I stitched right along the top edge, and now we are going to flip this lining so that it goes inside of our pocket piece. And as you can see, that covers up all of the raw edges that we had inside of our pocket piece. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to go back to the sewing machine, and we are going to top stitch just right along the top here to secure this lining in place, and it gives it a little more professional look as well. So I'm going to head over there. Again, I'm not going to show this on camera because it's just a straight stitch. And I'm just going to stitch right along the top here so that we have a nice, crisp, professional looking pocket piece with a stitched lining. Okay, so we have our nice stitched lining, and now we're going to take our back that has the interfacing on it, and we are going to place our pocket piece right on top of there. And we are going to pin all of the layers of the pocket piece onto the outer piece with the interfacing. That's critical. You can use clips for this as well, which I think I'm going to do. And as you can see, our wall pocket is starting to take shape. Now we're just going to stitch all the way around the sides and the bottom to keep this in place for the moment. I'm going to head over to the sewing machine, and we're going to just stitch this in place, and then we will move on to our next step. Here we are at the sewing machine, and we are going to smush this down a little bit, and we are going to start stitching this And that's all there is to it. And our pocket piece is stitched to our outer piece. So let's go over and do our next step. Okay, now you would think that our pocket piece is done, but it's not, because we have these raw edges and we need to get rid of those raw edges because we don't like those. But the first thing we're going to do is we need to make our hanger. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to fold these short ends in and press them. Then we are going to fold the long ends to the center and press that, and then fold it in half again to make our hanger piece. Fortunately for us, I have a cordless iron and I can show you exactly how to go about doing that. So we are just going to fold in these short ends just a little bit and press. And press. Fold in the long ends to the center. Press again. And then we're going to fold in half again, and that encloses all of the raw edges and creates a long tab. The next thing we're going to do is we are just going to top stitch along each side of this tab to enclose all of those raw edges. So I'm going to do that and come right back. Okay, now we are going to take our other back piece. I'm going to press this a little bit. Problem with linen is that it wrinkles really easily. And we are just going to fold our hanger in half, measure about 2.5 inches from the top, pin, and stitch along those edges, the bottom edges. So I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm just going to stitch right along these bottom edges just a couple of times to keep this secure, and this will be what your pocket piece hangs onto. Okay, now our hanger is on there and you can just hang this up exactly like that. But now we need to attach this piece and the hanger piece together so that we get rid of these raw edges and this back so that it's all complete. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to place this hanger piece on top of our pocket piece, right sides together. And I'm just going to clip these all the way around. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to stitch from the top of this pocket all the way around and stop here, and we're going to leave this opening open because we need to turn this right sides out. And once we've done that, I will come back over and we will go on to our next step. Okay, here we are, and we are going to start stitching our wall pocket right here at the top of where our pocket piece starts. And again, we're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now it gets a little bulky here, but that's okay. Okay, and as you can see, we have this opening here, and we are going to go and turn this project right sides out. Okay, so here we are. It's all sewn together, and now we need to turn this project right sides out. We're just going to reach in and pull this pocket piece out. This is a little fidgety, but it will definitely come out with a little bit of elbow grease. Look at that. We have our pocket piece. We have our back. I'm going to poke out these sides. And now, for our last and final step, we have to close up this side. And the way we're going to do that is we are just going to fold in the seam allowance, clip it, and I'm going to head over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to top stitch this curved part all the way around, and that will enclose this opening, and we'll have a nice finished edge right around the top of this, and we'll be finished with this project. Okay, we have now finished our fabric wall pocket hanger with the hanger on the outside and our pocket piece where we can place some lovely flowers like we did this one. Stands up on its own, hangs up on the wall. Perfect. Now we, like I said, just add some flowers or some other decoration that you want to add. You can also use this for keys or some other mail or anything that you like. This is perfect for that, to hang on the wall. Hang them in sets of 3 and they would make a perfect statement in your home. So I would urge you to give this project a try. It is fun, it is functional, and it is well worth the effort. Add a little watercolor art to your next sewing project. You will find that it really adds a pop of color and is a beautiful addition to any sewing project that you may have going right now. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and head over to www.sewverycrafty.com for more sewing and crafting projects and tutorials. And as we go along here, I'm getting more and more videos, so check out some of my other videos on how to make simple sewing projects for the beginner and intermediate sewists. So thanks everybody, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye!